The second segment of the Nightly News is brought to you by Labrie Credit Union. Labrie Credit Union. We are not a bank. We are better.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. On the occasion of the first session of the 12th Parliament of St. Lucia on Tuesday, the 17th of August, Jeremiah Norbert, the Member of Parliament for Micoud North, was appointed to serve as Deputy Speaker of the House. This appointment of a Deputy Speaker comes after 5 years of dereliction of duty. In his throne speech, His Excellency Errol Charles, Deputy to the Governor General, reiterated the new administration's commitment to serving the people of St. Lucia and to provide order and good governance in the management of the country's affairs. Therefore, the intended structures of the Parliament, they say, will be observed. Independent Senator and CEO of the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, Noorani Aziz, says as the fight with COVID-19 continues, there are fundamental matters at play. He says what is needed is continued adherence to the COVID-19 protocols.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has been heavily criticized for his approach to dealing with the COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia. Many have indicated that his approach is too lenient, while others believe that a change was needed from what many saw as barbaric and ineffective to some extent. Independent Senator and CEO of the SLHTA, Noorani Aziz, says the SLHTA welcomes the new approach to dealing with the pandemic and is looking forward to gauging its level of efficacy.
We are very encouraged by the Prime Minister's position of compassion and engagement. We too believe that there is much to be gained in that quality of engagement with stakeholders. However, at the same time, we note that it brings an added sense of responsibility on the part of the private sector and citizens in general to be able to use responsibly that quality of engagement and to take personal pride and responsibility to do what we have to do on an individual basis and on a corporate level in the interest of the greater good.
During the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic in St. Lucia, the SLHTA was one of the staunch advocates for second testing. As the island continues to record a steady incline in cases following the increase in social activity during the election season. This time around, will the SLHTA clamor for more widespread testing?
As it relates to the second testing, at the time the entire region was contending with various modalities to cope and respond to the threats of COVID. And what we essentially called for at the time was dialogue. That's what we really tried to speak to. Dialogue that would ensure that as a country, we made the best decisions in the interest of the greater good. As we stand today, we are looking at the fact that we have had an excellent opportunity to test various approaches to managing and dealing with COVID. And it would suggest that irrespective of the various of the threats of the variants, what has worked best for us have been these safety protocols of social distancing, mask wearing, and sanitizing. And we believe, regardless of what the future holds in terms of coronavirus, we have to, for the long haul, commit ourselves to these basic principles because the science suggests that they are working.
The independent senator was questioned as to whether he believes the closing of borders once again will help lessen the spread of the virus.
Those are things we have to look at very carefully. We are dealing with an economy that is against the ropes, more or less, and every day we hear the cry of workers for more employment, higher wages, better standards of living, and it is not a simple decision for one to have to take. I don't believe that there are best practices globally that have effectively demonstrated that for the long haul, as a long-term measure, travel bans are working to get us where we need to be. My thinking is that we have to lean on what is working, and we're seeing that short-term closures and suspensions of economies are not in the best interest of our people.
St. Lucia to date has recorded over 6,000 COVID-19 cases. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonza.
The African swine fever outbreak in China has captured the global pork industry's attention since 2018. St. Lucians are being asked to remain vigilant as the Dominican Republic recorded its first case of the African swine fever.
African swine fever, ASF, is a deadly viral disease that affects both domestic and feral swine of all ages. While it poses no risk to human health and cannot be transmitted from pigs to humans, its discovery in St. Lucia would have a significant impact on livestock producers, their communities, and the economy. As of the 28th of July, the Dominican Republic reported its first case of ASF. Acting Chief Veterinary Officer of the Livestock and Veterinary Services Division, Dr. Charmin Melvin Edwin, says the region is now on high alert to ensure that this disease remains at bay.
We are happy that presently this disease does not exist in St. Lucia. However, African swine fever is a viral disease, a hemorrhagic disease, a disease that causes severe hemorrhaging, internal hemorrhaging. You see a lot of hemorrhaging in the organs, in the heart, in the spleen, in the kidneys. And so there's a lot of redness. You notice a lot of redness on the animal. The tip of the ears may be red, the abdomen, the extremities, very red. So it's one of the diseases that we call red diseases of pigs. And so in addition to the redness, you may see that the animals will be depressed, they'll huddle together, they may become anorexic, they lose their appetite, so they will not eat for you. The females may experience abortion, you may have vomiting, you may have diarrhea, you may have cyanosis, or which basically means that poor blood circulation, so you'll begin to see the areas beginning to turn blue because of the lack of oxygen. And so this is highly, you can understand the devastating effect that this would have on our pig sector if this disease were to enter.
According to Dr. Melville Edwin, there is currently no treatment or vaccine available for this disease. She explains that the only way to stop this disease is to depopulate all swine herds that have been infected or have been exposed to it. Travelers are advised to be cautious and avoid transporting pork products as the disease can be transmitted through them.
We need to have proper biosecurity measures on farm. What do I mean by biosecurity measures? Ensuring that you take the proper precautions. Persons who are coming, ensure that persons who are coming to your farm only are persons who need to be there. The clothing that you wear on your farm is not the same clothing that you wear out on the streets. Use your foot bath, so disinfect your boots, disinfect your clothing when you enter the farm or when you leave the farm. Farmers, the use of food scraps is not encouraged. It's not encouraged because, again, as we know, the virus can be transmitted through food, through pork products. However, we do understand the economic impact and the high cost of production. So we're encouraging farmers, if you have to use swill, you have to use feed scraps, make sure it is cooked at high temperatures. The virus can be destroyed at high temperatures for a certain amount of time.
Dr. Melville reiterated the importance of public vigilance in the fight against the African swine fever. Farmers are asked to contact their local extension office or the Veterinary and Livestock Services Division if they notice any signs of the African swine fever. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
The Owen King AU Hospital has announced that effective Wednesday, the 18th of August, accompanying support will not be allowed into the labor and delivery rooms until further notice. The hospital says this is in an effort to balance benefits to the individual patient with a duty to reduce infectious exposures to visitors, other patients, the community, and the healthcare team. The measure is temporary and intended to reduce the potential risk to patients, staff, and visitors. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. There's more news after the break.
The second segment of the Nightly News was brought to you by Labrie Credit Union. Labrie Credit Union. We are not a bank. We are better.